What is going on, gunfighters? Welcome back to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting, keeping God at the center, with Judeo-Christian values and real-world, first-hand experience. Now, I don't know how the community that listens to this is going to take this episode, but I think it needs to be said, so I'm going to say it. Before we get into the topic, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review of the podcast. And please consider supporting the podcast by going to goodshepherdtraining.com and clicking on Patreon. With that, we'll put in the bio. If you've already heard it, don't want to listen to it, skip around 3 minutes and 45 seconds from where it starts. And then we'll get into the body of the topic today. First and foremost, I am a servant of God, preacher, a fisher of men. God is number one in my life, and everything that I do in this podcast is no different, and I don't apologize for that. A little bit about me in the background. I grew up, I guess what you would consider a heathen. Didn't grow up a Christian, but I grew up in the southeastern United States, what most would consider very poor. Hunting and fishing and shooting. Joined the Marine Corps at 17, did a couple of combat tours in Iraq. After my combat tours in Iraq, I was an urban warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps under Mojave Viper. I also served in law enforcement for several years in LAPD. I worked patrol assignments and more specialized assignments, where by God's grace, He got me through some nasty places in this world of war zones and some of the nastiest streets in the country. Not because I am better, because God chose to have mercy on me and had a purpose for me, and I'm thankful for that. After my time in law enforcement, I was a private contractor for federal government, for a 3-letter government agency I won't specify, doing private contracting work. I'm very much involved in guns and gunfighting. I also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. I should say my primary MOS is in both branches of the military or infantry, as of one sort or another. Specialized infantry in the Marine Corps and an MOS that no longer exists. I started competition shooting even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I won my first gold medal even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I've been blessed by God with the talents He's given me to win more shooting competitions than I can remember. I've won most of my competitions in rifle and pistol, but I've also competed in archery and shotgun and even muzzleloader, knife throwing, hatchet throwing. I've competed in all that. I've also been a professional big game hunter and guide. Like I said, I grew up hunting and fishing and shooting. I've done it to put meat on the table because I like to put food on the table with the talents God's given me. I don't apologize for that. I've done it as a professional hunter and guide. I've slain all manner of beast and guided for all manner of beast. Bear and wolf and elk and deer, mule deer, whitetail deer. I've slain ram and fallow deer and countless animals. And I don't apologize for that either. FBI certified, firearms instructor, NRA, and a bunch of other 3-letter government agency certifications. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Psalm 144. I've been blessed to be the commander of a tactical team, an SRT, special response team, in a large metropolitan area, where our primary job was to stop active shooters. But again, first and foremost, I'm a servant of God, called by God to share the good news, preacher, a fisher of men. All right. So today's topic is probably going to anger some people in the audience. And that's okay, because I'm here to speak the truth. And hopefully it does anger you on one side or another. And either way, hopefully it makes you better. But what we're going to talk about today, and I see this all the time. I see this especially my last job where I managed a firearms and training company and gave that up for you guys to become a full-time podcaster and hopefully be better at this and do better at this by God's grace. But I saw this a lot, which makes me believe that it wasn't just there. It's probably pretty prevalent. And I was kind of blind to it because I'm usually in circles with professional gunfighters. This is called gunfighter life. I've been blessed to be a professional gunfighter for most of my adult life. So maybe I just was blind to this. But now I see. There's a big chunk of men out there who are part of this gun culture. They're part of this gun culture with their, grunt style shirts and their pro Second Amendment and their Black Rifle coffee. And there's nothing wrong with those brands. That's not what I'm saying. But they're part of this gun culture with their whatever brand shirt that they have, Glock, Smith & Wesson. Doesn't really matter, the brand. But they wear all this stuff and they're pro Second Amendment and don't tread on me and all this stuff. And they think somehow that makes them a gunfighter or makes them even a good shooter. And it doesn't. It doesn't make them that at all. And you think about that logically. And you know that's true. I've seen guys come in kitted out in their super tactical, outfit, trying to look like operators and all this other stuff that literally would get outshoot by most 12-year-old girls that had at least one professional firearms training class. And I don't say that to be mean. I say it because I've seen it, because it's a reality. I'm not going to say any names or anything, but I had two guys come in that fit that bill perfectly. Like, they looked the part. They looked like they knew what they were doing. Like, they had all the gear, they had the bags, they had nice guns, they had the shirts that were like, oh yeah, I'm a gun dude. And they were not good shooters. And then just a few days prior to that, I had a couple of young Canadian couple come in, and they had never shot a gun before. And that's one of the cool things I'm going to miss about that job, was taking people shooting that had never been shooting before. And they were both, after they listened and took a class and paid attention, and they were both very good shooters. And they had never shot a gun before. And they were by far, not like objectively, like they were by far, by any measure, better than the guys with all this stuff and all this gear that had probably been shooting many, many times. But I think that they buy into this lie that goes deeper than just gun culture. It's kind of an American thing, like, oh, I can order stuff on Amazon, so I'm ready, I'm prepared. I've got my grunt style t-shirt and my, I voted for so-and-so and I'm pro Second Amendment, so I'm a shooter, I'm a gunfighter. No, you're not. That doesn't make you a gunfighter. Having a MAGA shirt, doesn't make you a gunfighter. Who you voted for doesn't make you a good shooter. And that's just a reality. And you can get mad about that, but it doesn't change the fact. See, that's one of the reasons I think that I love so much the art and the science of shooting. It's honest. And the target is honest. The target doesn't care who you voted for. The target doesn't care how much you even really want to shoot it. I say that in shooting classes all the time. I say don't focus on the target, because you can really, really want to hit that target and really, really be focused on that target, but that target doesn't care. That bullet is only going to go where you make it go, with your training, with your applying the fundamentals. It's one of the reasons, again, that I love shooting. The target is honest. Wherever that bullet hole went, that's where your sights and your muzzle were pointed when that trigger got pulled. That's just a reality. Unless there's some freaky, very odd thing going on with your gun, your sights are broken or something, you dropped the shot low left on your target. That's because you put it there in almost all circumstances. Not all. Like I said, there are some freak anomalies, but the target is honest. The target does not care that you voted for Trump. The target doesn't care that you are pro Second Amendment. Target doesn't care whether you've picked up a gun, whether you're the most pro Second Amendment NRA supporter in the world. The target is only going to reflect where you put that bullet. And that's honest. This next part may really anger you, but I've done it enough to know that it can be done. I could take somebody that's pro-Second Amendment, NRA, owns a bunch of guns, goes out to the range a couple of times a year. If this person is open to it, I could go into a Starbucks and find a purple-haired 20-year-old barista that's never picked up a gun in their life. And you give me a couple of days, and I could have them out shooting almost anybody else in that other category. Doesn't matter if they voted for Bernie Sanders and are part of the Communist Party. The target doesn't care. The target doesn't care who they voted for. The target doesn't care, even if they're anti-Second Amendment. If they're willing to listen and get training and apply it, the target will reflect that because the target is honest. You can't buy your way into being a good shooter with stuff. You can't vote your way into being a good shooter or a gunfighter with stuff. It doesn't work that way. Obviously, to be a gunfighter, one needs a gun and ammunition. So there is a financial barrier to entry there. You need some things to be a shooter, to be a gunfighter. But once you have those things, buying a bunch of cool t-shirts, the target doesn't care what t-shirt you're wearing. Target doesn't care if you drink Black Rifle coffee or some hippie brand of all organic, I don't know, whatever the buzzwords are, sustainably harvested coffee that you got at Whole Foods while wearing your hemp, hoodie. Target doesn't care. Target cares how well you apply the fundamentals. That you properly align those sights and give a slow, steady, relaxed squeeze to that trigger and stay focused. That's what the target is going to reflect. The fact that you have an NRA sticker on the back of your truck does not make you a good shooter. Now, if you've been getting angry so far, realize this. None of that makes you a bad shooter. There's plenty of really good shooters that are part of the NRA and drink Black Rifle coffee and all the other stuff. That's fine. But realize that is being part of gun culture, not being a gunfighter, and not even being a good shooter. Has nothing to do with it. There's plenty of those people that wear the MAGA shirts and the little American flag patch on their t-shirt and, wear the super tactical kit to the range. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you a bad shooter either. So if you got mad thus far, chill out. That doesn't make you a bad shooter. But likely, getting training is far more important than any of those things. The guy that has, let's say, a basic battery of 5 guns, and he spends the rest of his time and money training and dry firing. I don't care if that dude wears, anything from a plaid jacket to, again, a hemp hoodie and those weird-looking toe shoes. If he's dry firing every day and spending his time in training on classes, that's what's going to make him a good shooter. The fact that he is a student of the gun, that he seeks to better understand the science and the art of the gun, that's what's going to make him a good shooter. The fact that he's brave or not brave and cool-headed in extreme circumstances in the midst of danger, those things will make him help him be a good gunfighter, whomever he voted for or didn't vote for. So the good news is, if you have been like that thus far, repent. Repent just means change your mind. All the cool stuff, all the cool kit, all the cool stickers on the back of your truck, all the t-shirts you have, they don't make you a good gunfighter. They don't make you a good shooter. They don't even make you safe with a gun. That just makes you part of this gun culture. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If you want to be part of that culture, we all form our own little tribes. I believe deep down we are tribal. and we seek like-minded people that do like-minded things, and that's great, and I have nothing against that. And I am obviously a gun person. I love guns. I love to research guns and talk about guns, and I like to get into the minutia of guns to a ridiculous amount of detail. But I spend a lot of time practicing and dry firing, and in the past shooting competitions, and even me, like you would think with my background and stuff, that because I train other people and all that stuff, that I don't like to go to training. But I love going to training. I like taking training classes. I even still like going to basic training courses, like basic NRA courses, because I'm never too good for that, and I'm never too good to learn. And I've almost never taken, I don't think I've ever taken a class where I didn't learn something. Likewise, if you have just been part of the gun culture, broaden your horizons and actually make yourself a good shooter and a gunfighter. I don't think, even though I have been, I don't think you need to be a Marine to be a gunfighter or be LAPD to be a gunfighter. I think you need to be part of a well-regulated, meaning well-trained, even that could be training yourself, militia, an armed, responsible citizen ready to stand up against evil. And being well-trained and practicing and seeking out training is part of that. Not having a cool t-shirt. Not having a bumper sticker. You going out and buying cool bumper stickers and having cool t-shirts and all that stuff, that doesn't make you a true gunfighter any more than the purple-headed nose ring wearing person at Whole Foods that buys a soy hamburger is going to save the planet. Any more than buying a guitar makes you a rock star. Or any more than buying a basketball jersey means that you're in the NBA. It doesn't. It's just decoration. If you gave Michael Jordan at the peak of his career a tank top that said, "I hate basketball," he's still going to be good at basketball. The shirt doesn't change that one way or the other. You often also see this in hunting culture. People that are part of the hunting culture, they don't actually hunt or aren't very good hunters. Just because you wear mossy oak, that doesn't make you a good hunter. Just because you have a matching outfit from head to toe of Sitka gear that costs as much as a beater car, that doesn't make you a good hunter. You know, the fact that you watch the Outdoors channel and you have a camo folding chair with a camo, Bud Light koozie, that doesn't make you a good hunter. Somewhere out there's a bunch of dudes, rednecks, very little money, walking around in blue jeans and work boots that understand reading the wind, that can go out in the woods and consistently take game. The fact that you have the new hot camo that all the cool kids are wearing this year, that doesn't make you a good hunter. The fact that you have a giant expensive scope on your rifle doesn't make you a good hunter. The fact that you have the most expensive deer urine in a bottle and listen to country music in your jacked up pickup truck on the way down a dirt road to get to wherever you're going hunting does not make you a good hunter. Again, they don't make you a bad hunter, but that has nothing to do with you being a good hunter. Your field craft, your being a good marksman, you're knowing how to walk quietly in the woods, you're knowing how to read the wind, how to read sign, understanding animal habits and habitat, feeding patterns, weather, all those things. Those will make you a good hunter. Not what kind of music you listen to or truck you drive or having a giant scope on the top of your rifle in the coolest kid camo and the hot pattern for this year. Again, you can't Amazon order and click your way into being a good hunter. It takes time in the field. It takes dedication. It takes being cold, being hot, paying attention, being out in nature. That deer doesn't care that you're wearing the coolest new mossy oak or that he doesn't care whether you're wearing mossy oak or real tree or multicam. A deer doesn't care. None of that matters if you make so much noise getting into the woods and walked upwind of him and set the car alarm off on your fancy jacked up truck with your country music as you were trying to get into your hunting spot. That deer's long gone. You often hear this. Oh, my so-and-so is this. Cool. That makes no difference to me. Example, my brother-in-law is a cop, or my brother was a Marine. Well, that's cool. It doesn't matter. That makes no difference on you. That doesn't make you know anything or be a good shooter. You could be a fantastic shooter. You could be one of the worst shooters I've ever seen. The fact that your brother's a Marine and talk to you about guns really doesn't matter. It's not like being a king. Like, if my father's the king, then I'm a prince. It doesn't work that way with guns and gunfighting and shooting. The fact that my dad may or may not have served in World War II, or my grandfather may or may not have served in World War II with honor. A lot of those men who served honorably and did great and heroic things, other than what they learned in basic training and the rifle they were issued, may know very little about guns. And what they were taught may be totally antiquated and does not apply hardly at all today. The fact that, your brother is a cop. And I say this as somebody that spent a large portion of their life in law enforcement. And I know what a hard job that can be. But most police officers are horrible shots compared to the average dedicated shooter. Even the mediocre competition shooter that just goes for fun is usually a far, far better shooter than almost all but the top tier of police officers. I was what I would consider a fairly decent among police officer shooters when I was a police officer. And I went to my first competition, and I got freaking schooled. And this was like a dynamic handgun shooting competition. I did horribly, and I quickly realized that most competition shooters are far and above, way, way better than your average police officer. So the fact that you know somebody that's a cop is even less relevant to me. When I hear that somebody's a cop, the first thing I think is they're probably not a very good shooter, because I've seen it enough to know. Now, some cops are. They're very, very good shooters. And this is coming from somebody, again, that was a cop. Some of them are very good shooters because they take it seriously and they go out on their own and train and shoot. But the vast majority are not. Some, you may be surprised, don't even like guns. They just want a good job that pays well with a good pension. And they could care less about the gun. It's just a tool for their job. They go out and shoot 50 rounds every couple of months. And that doesn't make you a good shooter. Any more than if I went to the gym, once every couple of months. How much muscle, how buff do you think I'd be if I went to the gym once every couple of months? Even if I worked out really hard once every couple of months. So what? Look at the statistics on police shootings. And I'm not ragging. Again, I was a cop. But look at them and see what their hit probability is. And again, I know what a hard job that can be. I've worked some of the nastiest streets in the country. And in L.A., Southeast Newton, I've done that. I was a fugitive recovery. I don't mention that in the bio, but my job was, catching some of the dangerous people that were on the loose. I know what a dangerous job that can be, but I'm here to tell you that most cops are not great shooters. So the fact that somebody that's a cop, or your brother-in-law who's a cop, or uncle who's a cop took you shooting once, that means even less to me. So again, repent, change your ways, change your mind. If you think that makes you a good shooter, it doesn't. The target doesn't care that your brother-in-law is a cop. The target doesn't care that your dad fought valiantly in World War II. The target only cares that you put the bullet where you want and need to put the bullet, that you hit your mark. You guys know the Rifleman's Creed, or are you familiar with it? We learn it in the Marine Corps. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. One of the great lines in that is, it's the hits that count. It's not the noise you make. It's not the smoke you make. It's not how much cool gear you have at the range or how fast you can pull the trigger. It matters that you hit. Your hits are what count. In practice and training and combat and defensive use, it's your hits that count, not all the other stuff. If you miss and you're wearing a cool shirt, cool, you missed. Doesn't matter. If you're a great shooter, again, I don't care if you're wearing toe shoes and a completely organic, I don't even know if this exists, but organic, sustainably harvested holster from organic materials made out of tree bark. If you hit your target, you're a quick, accurate shooter, cool, that's awesome. Don't care. The target doesn't care either. That actually is a cool idea. How cool would it be to have like a birch bark, like how you make canoes, a birch bark holster? That'd be pretty sweet, actually. Don't worry, I'm not a hippie. So now that I've made everybody mad, not everybody, hopefully, but the good news is it doesn't matter one way or the other. You can wear whatever you want and be a great shooter. You can vote for whomever you want and be a great shooter. You don't have to look a certain way to be a good shooter or be a gunfighter. Again, you could be a 120-pound, 20-something-year-old Starbucks barista with purple hair and a nose ring and be a fantastic shooter. You could be a giant Samoan dude with dreadlocks who likes to wear flip-flops and be a great shooter. Again, the target doesn't care what you look like, either personally or what you wear. You can do whatever you want, vote for whoever you want, wear whatever you want, and be a great shooter. You know how many of my practice sessions I've done in silkies? Quite a few. Or a pair of Star Wars shorts and my gun belt on. My war belt, doesn't matter. Or how often I've practiced barefoot. Again, the target doesn't care. But what does matter is that you practice and train and get training. And then do whatever you want. Wear whatever you want. Obviously, I'm pro Second Amendment. You should probably know that because I have a podcast called Gunfighter Life. I have a gun on my hip right now. Part of me being able to do this podcast is my wife and I, lovingly, she's willing to sacrifice, and we're moving around. Generally, you can stay on national forest. 14 days you can stay off-grid. We live off-grid. We're doing that now, and I'm literally sitting here with a gun on my hip, high-capacity magazine, and it's an M17. It's regular capacity magazines. I've got a couple of them on me. Got a big knife. I'm sitting here perfectly legal, looking over a lake, and the other side of that lake is California, where I would be a felon. I very much appreciate the Second Amendment and the places that preserve that. I very much do. And don't get me wrong, I got nothing against that culture. Probably most of my friends are in that culture. And that's fine, but that doesn't make you a good shooter. It doesn't make you a gunfighter. And again, you don't get being a good shooter by association. Whomever your brother is, or your father was, or your uncle, or your third cousin twice removed. Doesn't matter. What are you doing to be a better gunfighter? What are you doing to be a better shooter? What are you doing about it? Tactical tip of the day. We talked about shooting. We talked about being a better shooter. We talked about working out a little bit. This is going to combine those two. This is an exercise, a shoulder exercise. Most gyms, most places that you have, I'm working out from home right now on the move, Oscar Mike. But most of us have plates. You know, your 25, your 35, your 45-pound plates. Here's an exercise that can improve your shooting. It doesn't take the place of practicing your fundamentals and all that, but it's a good arm-shoulder workout. You take your plate, you just hang it down where it normally would rest with your hands on each side. You bring that plate straight up in front of your face so that you can look through the circle, like you're looking at the sights of a gun or anything else, and hold it there. That plate weighs far more than a gun. That is a good workout. That's a good shoulder workout that will also be able to give you strength that applies to shooting. You want to get fancy with it, you take your 25, 35, 45, bring it up, look through the plate, and then flip it in your hands while still trying to look through the circle. And then catching it, working on your finger dexterity, still looking through the circle. Bring it up, flip it, bring it down, bring it up, flip it, bring it down. It's a good exercise. Even if you don't shoot, it's a good exercise, but it's a good applicable exercise if you shoot. Tactical verse of the day, coming at you from Deuteronomy chapter 20. It's 19 and 20 are pretty good to read if you want a good moral compass for gunfighting and battle and things like that. We're going to talk about one when you besiege a people, when you are making war against a people. When you go near a city to fight against it, then proclaim an offer of peace to it. And it shall be that if they accept your offer of peace and open to you, then all the people who are found in it shall be placed under tribute to you and serve you. Now if the city will not make peace with you, but war against you,
then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God delivers it into your hands, you shall strike every male with the edge of the sword. But the women, the little ones, the livestock, and all that is in the city, all its spoil, you shall plunder for yourself. And you shall eat the enemy's plunder, which the Lord your God gives you. Thus you shall do to all the cities which are very far from you, which are not the cities of these nations, but the cities of these people, which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance. You shall let nothing that breathes remain alive, but you shall utterly destroy them. The Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Pezerite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, just as the Lord your God commanded you, lest they teach you to do according to their abominations which they have done for their gods, and you sin against the Lord your God. With that, Gunfighters, I want to say thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out goodshepherdtraining.com. Have a blessed day.